let us bring you up to date, dear listeners, because when we arrived at Lord's, well, I arrived this morning at 9:30, and it had just started to rain, and it has not stopped raining since 9:30. But on the positive side, it's not been that delugey rain. It's been steady, and it's been impossible to play cricket in, obviously. But as I look out onto the ground, what puddles there were a couple of hours ago have been cleared up by the ground staff. The ground staff excellent here at Lord's. There are hoses that are coming off the side of the covers, but there are no puddles where there were puddles. And every now and then the ground staff come out and they sweep it all off. So if the rain does stop, and actually the clouds are lifting ever so slightly, the rain has become a bit lighter. According to our radar, we expect it to start stopping, if you can imagine such a thing. This is where we're at.
Stop starting.
Yeah. In around about 3 minutes and 10 seconds from now. I don't think they can be quite that specific, but about 4:15, we're expecting things just to ease. Now, if it does ease, then there's a prospect that the ground staff may be able to tidy this up, because as I say, there are no puddles, and Lord's has got the best drainage in world cricket, bar none, basically.
Well, of course.
It has. So let me explain to you what can happen. We can play cricket as long as they can get out there before 6.
Right.
We can add an extra half an hour. So what they would do, let us give you the perfect way to describe this, is if they get out there at 5 o'clock, right?
Yeah, no, I'm listening.
They can play until 7 o'clock, right?
Right.
So they would then calculate the overs as 15 times 2, 30 overs.
Okay, hold
now
on.
they would then be able, if they haven't finished those overs by 7 o'clock, to keep going until 7:30. But you would hope that even with a slow over rate, they wouldn't need too much more of that extra half hour. So we've got an extra hour, and we've also got a further half an hour. In theory, we could go on to 7:30. The likelihood is that if we do get out there, it'll be maybe 25 overs, maybe 30 overs. And if so, let me start with you, Michael. That would put England in a terrible pickle, wouldn't it?
Well,
After all that.
yes. I think of the two teams, you'd rather be the fielding team in that situation. Clouds around, a bit of moisture. You would think the ball might just swing a little bit more so. Yesterday it did more than the first day, so yeah, it'd be advantage to New Zealand for that period of play. Let's just hope we get some. I know it'd be difficult for the England batting unit, but you know, there's a decent crowd rocked up.
Yeah.
Want to see a bit of cricket, so let's hope we can get 2 hours.
Yeah.
Well, 2 hours.
And of course, sorry,
Yes.
and New Zealand, and they're now becoming more and more favourites
Very much
to win
so.
the game.
Well, let's remind people of the state of the game. 378 New Zealand made in their first innings. England are 111 for 2. Rory Burns 59, Joe Root 42. And as Michael has painted that horror scenario from an England point of view, with the ball swinging around, the horror of it all. It's not inconceivable to imagine it. Four wickets in 2 hours. That's not too much to ask for. And in that time, England may only score, because it'd be tricky conditions, 50 or 60 runs.
Those two played well, because England were in a bit of a hole. Jameson swung it, didn't he? And who else bowled it? Southey bowled very nicely as well. So they'll be licking their lips a little bit. Perfect kind of scenario for seam bowlers as well. You've had your feet up all day, and you know you've just got a nice little chunk of play, so you can really steam in. So England will have to bat well to get over that period.
And testing conditions it will be for the likes of Rory Burns. Burns batted well yesterday, and it was a little bit, Michael, especially with Bracey now in the side at 7. With England's top 3 misfiring over and over again, Dom Sibley with his sixth consecutive single-figure score, a record for an opener, according to Andy Zoltzman. He got very excited about that yesterday.
Yeah.
There's a sort of feeling to me that Stokes will come back in for sure. There's a sort of shootout between Pope and Lawrence, potentially, for the number 6 slot. And there's a potential shootout between the top 3 and Bracey, isn't there, for 3 positions at the top.
Yeah.
And actually, if Pope and Lawrence bat well, then who knows? Might have them both in, and 2 guys in the top 3 might be looking over their shoulders.
Yeah, well, you want competition. You know, Hasib Hamid's here as well, so he'll be eyeing up one of those top 3 spots if he can continue to score runs for Notts. But, you know, it's a great opportunity for Bracey. Yeah. You know, going at number 7, he'll hope that he doesn't bat today. Try and get a score. And if he looks assured, and looks like he can play at this level, he will put pressure on the likes of Crawley and Sibley in particular in that opening berth. That's why, when you lose a couple of sessions or 2.5 sessions in a test match, we automatically start thinking, it'll be a draw. And, favourite is probably that result. But, the way that this England team bat in test match cricket, you could see a collapse. But you could also see them get an opportunity to bat well and then bat tomorrow and then say to New Zealand on the last day with a little lead, what are you going to do?
Well, let's not forget, Michael, that they can make time up, can't they? So it'll be 98 overs tomorrow. It'll be 98 overs on the 5th day as well. So if they do get out there, if they got 30 overs or maybe 25, you add the 16, actually they only lost half a day. And most test matches do end inside 4.5 days.
There's loads of cricket still to play, particularly on a wicket like this that we've seen. There's just a little bit there, and you go out with a mentality of not being switched on, with not having a game plan. The players that have had success on this wicket, Devon Conway had a real strategic game plan, played technically very well, let the ball come, drove nicely, flicked on the onside nicely. I thought Rory Burns yesterday was excellent, because he stuck to his game plan. His balance was excellent. He played one shot actually early off Jameson, where the ball swung back into him and he just stayed a bit more upright and he played it through straight mid-wicket. I think when Rory Burns isn't quite right in his sink and his balance, that maybe he either would have missed it and LBW would have gone square of the wicket on the onside. So that was an early indicator that he was in good shape. Joe Root, he gave a lesson to, I hope, someone like Zach Crawley, that at test match level you've got to be willing to fight, willing to graft and willing to just stay out there. And the longer you stay out there, the rhythm generally does arrive. But, it's quite a... I call that mental toughness, real tough mentality of just hanging in. He hung in when they pitched it up, he was struggling because it was swinging, and all of a sudden they went short. He got a couple of cut shots away, started to find his rhythm. So someone like Zach Crawley, he wants to be himself and he wants to try and play his style of cricket, but I think it's worth him looking at the likes of the England captain and realise that it's not easy test cricket, and you can't go playing the fancy Dan way all the time. Sorry, Dan, did you play that way?
I did. Well,
fancy Dan.
Actually, I played more like Dom Sibley, to be brutally honest.
I like that. But that's
fancy Dom, really.
I think if you look throughout a test career, Joe Root's got over 8,000 test match runs, and realistic, if you said to Joe, how many of those runs were in full flow and you just thought it was so easy? I bet there's only a couple of thousand. So 6,000 you have to really graft and work hard. So I think the young players in the team, particularly Zach Crawley, could take a leaf out of that book.
You've got to earn your rhythm, haven't you?
They're contrasting issues, aren't they, Tuffers? Though they're contrasting problems with the two that we're talking about here, Sibley and Crawley. With you said to me yesterday, Sibley's playing the shot that he got out to. It was a good ball. It was a good ball, and it straightened it. It moved away. It was a very marginal decision. There were lots of things that Sibley can say weren't in his favour, but the most important thing that wasn't in his favour was that he was using a third of the bat.
Well, that's right, and that's a bit of a worry for me. Now, if everything, as Michael was saying, is in sync, he looks to score on the onside, okay, that's his method, and he's been relatively successful at it, but he's not going to change his technique. I'm not saying anything that he's going to change his technique. He's going to look to play like that and, hopefully score the weight runs that then keeps him in the side. But for me, I don't know whether that technique's going to succeed. And I'll tell you, the last person who sort of was then jettisoned from this England side with a sort of technique like that was Wesley. Do you remember Wesley at 3? He had that shut back face and everything, and then it doesn't take long with the old Bush telegraph to go round. Pitching it away from him, he off drives it, he nicks off or drags it on, and that's then what happens.
So are you saying, both of you, that actually it's easier for Crawley to amend his problem because the problem he has seems to be that he feels the need to have bat on ball early on in his innings. Well, what he's got to do is sort of omit the shot. Whereas the problem that Sibley's got is that he's actually got to change the shot.
It's possible. Rory Burns isn't far off Sibley in terms of the left-arm version. He just come across the ball, but yesterday he found a sink and a rhythm, and I think he's been playing well for Surrey over the last few weeks. You've got to remember, Sibley hasn't been playing. He's had the finger injury. So
I was going to ask you
that little bit of non-game time has possibly affected him, but he has got out cheaply on his last few occasions in Test match cricket. That technique is vulnerable, and it looks the kind of technique to me, like Rory Burns, that everything has to be in sync for those two to survive against high-quality bowling in Test match cricket early in an innings. And if you're slightly out...
Burns played 7 games in 7 weeks, hasn't he? So in a way, he's kind of actually been able to hone it. He's got 8 scores of over 50. But the problem Rory Burns will have is that he won't come into every Test match having played 7 games in 7 weeks, will he?
No, but from now till the end of this, I mean, they'll have that period after this Test match, next week's Test match for a few weeks, where there'll be lots of white ball cricket, and Rory Burns will, have to somehow find that rhythm and continue with the rhythm that he's found. And I'm sure he'll do that. But when you play like both those openers do for England, you will get periods, I think, like Dom Sibley is doing at the minute, where it doesn't look quite right. Yeah. I don't think we're at the stage to axe him. I don't think it's at that stage yet. But if James Bracey goes and gets 100, batting at 7, I know it's a different position, but he is a top order player. Well, the pressure zone buttons will start to panic a little bit in that Dom Sibley mind.
It would be nice. It would be nice if you could clone Sibley and Crawley. You could have the mental toughness of Dom Sibley and sort of the technique.
You think that's the next thing that may happen in the game? That you'll be able to put a couple of players in a blender?
Do you know, I don't think you even need to take 2 cricketers. I would take the mental toughness of Phil the Power Taylor.
Yeah.
I would put that. Yeah. I'd put that into every England cricketer.
Yeah, very
I think that's all you actually need.
Concentration, just repetition, simplicity.
But then, Mike,
dedication.
Listen, we could all
practice.
we could all see that Dom Sibley, likes to play to the leg side. That's where he scores the majority of runs. But I mean, there are sort of like, call me old-fashioned, play with the full face of the bat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially, those kind of things don't change, do
No,
they?
but I will say yesterday's delivery was...
Oh, it was a belter.
It was a belter. Because that angle from Jameson, that's going down the leg side. When it sets off from the hand, it's going down the leg side, and just right at the last minute, it's just gone poof. Yeah. Dale Steyn did me about 3 or 4 times in Test cricket, where I felt the ball was coming in. I go, there we go, I'll just whip that through mid-wicket, and it just goes late. And then you hear the rattle of the off stump. What Sibley does, he gets his pads in the way, because he gets over to that offside and play through the onside. It's just the mental pressure that he will go through now, knowing that he's had the 6 low scores, knowing he's on a pair, he's got naught in the first innings here. It's how you as an individual, when will he bat again in this Test match, if he bats at all? And it's in your mind, how do you stay confident when your record at the minute doesn't look great?
Exactly.
That's the real skill and the hard nature of Test match cricket is, how do you find that? It's all right for the coach to say, we're backing you, and Chris Silver would say, come on, you remember those hundreds you've got, we really believe, and you've scored runs all of your career. But it's how you give yourself that inner belief and how you talk to yourself inwardly. And that'll be the key for Dom Sibley. Can he get the confidence inwardly to go out there and just trust his game to carry on playing the way that he can't change anything technically overnight?
No, that's what I mean.
Can he trust himself to just go and believe that he will get runs at this level?
That's what I'm saying. You're saying change his technique. When do you then sort of say, well, I am what I am? I am what I am.
We hear it a lot from batters. They don't tend to sing it, but we do hear it.
Who sang that?
It's been a long day. I'm terribly sorry.
No, listen. So when do you then sort of say, well, listen, this is my technique, you know what I mean, and I'm going to stick with it, and I know it's a little bit suspect, but it works for me, and I can churn out my runs, and I'm happy with it. When is it sort of too late?
I think from looking at Dom Sibley, I think it'd be very, very difficult to change what he's got now. And the slight concern I have with Dom at the minute is, I think he does have an issue against spin.
Yeah.
He got a little bit better in them, but I do think he, particularly left arm spin. And then that left foot goes over to the offside, and he does play around that front pad. He has to iron that out. It'll just be a little rhythm thing, a little sync thing. But I don't think we should overanalyse yesterday's dismissal.
No.
That was a beauty. But he has got out in that fashion on a few occasions. Yeah. So
listen, we know.
Well, the best thing is, we sit here, and me and you, all three, we're playing against Dom. Say, how are you going to bowl? You're going to go channel, straight. Channel, straight. So he will know that. It's just, can he be mentally tough enough and strong enough to just stare at the ball, to trust himself to hit those? I don't think, having seen him play a little bit now, I don't think we'll be seeing the ball go back past the bowler regular. I think he is one of those players, just waits and plays it through mid-wicket. Sure. That is his game, so I don't think he's going to change that. He's just got to find a way of hitting it. Simple as that.
Right. Well, that's quite a profound note, isn't it, Mr. Dickett? I'm just going to let you all know that there is a modicum of good news, which is that the ground staff are out there and they are sweeping water off the covers. They've done this periodically, and it's making small puddles that almost instantly disappear. The less good news is that the umpires are out there also, but they do have their brollies up. But as I look around the crowd, there are some people who have braved it out onto the sort of open areas. They're not all huddled for cover under covers. I mean, honestly, it's hard to tell. They may just really like rain, but I don't think they do. I think it's starting to ease, and the rain itself, such as it is not really that visible. So, with the ground staff out there doing wonderful work, and with this being a very fast draining ground, there's every chance that there will be play later. And as soon as it looks like it's going to happen, we will be here, because obviously we'll pick up with the live action.